we're live. So, it's been so long since I've done this, like, I kind of forgot to double check, you know, when you're recording, things like that, my camera just, whenever I do like a live shoot mode via my computer, then it sometimes doesn't always communicate. So, I completely just did like 20 minutes of video and now I'm having to redo it. Yay. But it's okay. At least I got the first rough draft one out and now I'm ready to go. So it's been a long time since I've done one of these, and I've had a lot of stuff going in my life in the last like 7-8 months, and it's going to be like a 2-part, I think. I don't really know how long this is going to go. I'm hoping it's not going to go too awful long. And I'm thinking about breaking up into parts just so it's like easier to digest and watch and everything, because I mean, you don't want to, y'all don't want to sit here and watch this for like an hour or plus. So I'm going to end up, like I said, dividing it into 2 parts, a little bit of a backstory and then kind of like an update from that. About 6-7 months ago, one of my best friends that I work with, she was like diagnosed as epileptic. She ended up having a seizure at work, and so she asked me to, you know, drive her to and from work and whatnot. And so I said I would, and then she also knew that I used to rock climb, and I got out of it because I had tore my shoulder up years ago. Turns out I had tore my lat and my bicep, and but just never got it looked at, never got it fixed. So I started going to physical therapy for that and going to the rock climbing gym. Well, some of my other friends had already been going to the gym, and I had a membership before, and I didn't really like going to do it because it was bouldering, which if you're bouldering, it just means that there's a big pad underneath you and not like you're not in a harness with a rope and anything. So these walls at the gyms here, they're higher than the ones I used to boulder on back in Tennessee. So I just would get really nervous and like the very top of the wall, and sometimes I wouldn't finish routes because of it. Like I wouldn't really push myself. And I've seen people get ridiculously hurt while bouldering. So I'm more of a top rope person, so she got me to go to the new gym that I had a big top rope section that I'd never been to, and I immediately fell back in love. Like, I love rock climbing so much. And the downside is, you know, being trans and being male to female, like, my whole life I haven't liked my upper body. Like, I haven't liked how big it is. I haven't liked having big muscles, big forearms. Well, guess what happens when you rock climb? you develop muscles. And so it was just like this weird duality between like getting excited because I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger, my grip strength is much better than it used to be, and I can climb for a lot longer. Combination, it's that conflicted with being trans. So I had a lot of like I said, a duality in the whole thing where I didn't like it at the same time. I don't like getting bulky, I don't like getting upper body strength, and it's what I've been trying to lose for forever anyway, because I'm naturally a little bit on the bulkier side. I just kind of like a body type at this point. So it was hard, and so that kind of made it kind of a weird thing to process and deal with. And then the other thing is me and this friend me and her had been friends for a while, and she had, we talked about all kinds of stuff. We'd opened up a lot to each other, and she had told me before that I was one of the only people that she could, confide in and stuff, because I just, kind of happens when I guess I come out. Plus I had confided a lot in her and through my transition and stuff, and so she trusted me. Well, anyway, she we started hanging out after a seizure, and we hung out more and more than we ever had. And I was like, never attracted to her beforehand. Like it just wasn't a thing. Like never thought about it. And then the more and more I hung out with her, the more I realized I was like, I'm getting feelings. Like this is not good. So me being me, I do what, like if I'm not sure if the other person has feelings, or like I want to like maintain like the friendship and whatnot, like I just bring it up, because I'd rather go ahead and talk about it and get it out in the air and nip the feelings early on than let them like build and then get like have a hard conversation later and it ruined the friendship. So that's what I did. And she wanted to be just friends. Like she had broken up with her boyfriend of a long time, not too long, and they were still kind of sort of talking on and off, among other things that was going on. Like it was just not not meant to be, I guess. And I mean, she is super comfortable with me, and I picked it up as like flirting and whatnot. Like I don't know, like I don't know how she felt as far as like that goes to me. Like it's it's one of those things that's it's like I'll never know. And one of my like a girl that I talked to for a long time, she used to tell me, she was like, yeah, like I'm she used to say that she wasn't sure if she was lesbian or not, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like how, and she ended up like telling me before she deployed that like she had told her mom that, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like are you trying to like get me to wait for you or what? Like long story short, that's not a thing anymore, by far. But anyway, my friend now, like I just learned that she's an absolutely incredible person, and she's super outdoorsy. We went on a bunch of like camping and rock climbing trips, and it was just like super easy for us to be together, and like we were together for like a ton. And I do a lot of like random trips to do different things. Like I'll go down and drive 2 hours to watch a meteor shower and take pictures of lighthouses, or go to concerts. Like me and her drove like 3 hours to go see a concert in a backyard somewhere, and went to the concert for like 3 hours and then drove back like that night. So she was just kind of up for anything, and I loved it. Like that's when I'm looking for a significant other, like that's one of the qualities that I look for. Like I go do a lot of cool things, at least like I think they're cool. Like I don't also want to toot my own horn, but I like being outdoors and doing cool stuff. And so it was just really nice to have someone that would go with me and do any of that, like just with a drop of the hat, like just go. And we just like got along really, really well. So I took a little while for like the whole feelings thing to like subside. I'm kind of bad at like when the feelings are still there, like not necessarily acting on them, but like still being flirty and things like that. And it's not necessarily what she wanted at the time or whatever. And so long story short, like we ended up like hanging out a ton, and we still hang out now. But like I finally got to the point where like I was still having feelings for her, and was like basically still convinced that she was like either had feelings for me and she just wasn't telling me or what. And we ended up having another one of those conversations, and like it was something that I was like avoiding and just letting myself believe whatever. But then I got to thinking, I was like, this isn't fair to me, this isn't fair to myself, or it's not fair to her either. And so we had another conversation. I learned, I've known it for a while, that my Achilles heel is essentially rejection, because I like growing up and having your family like who's supposed to love you no matter what in theory, not accept you for being trans and do all kinds of stuff. It's hard, and I kind of blocked her out of the whole trans thing, even though I was super open early on. And so like my Achilles heel is rejection, because it ends up like hitting this wound that from my from my like family and stuff, like I feel like I can't be a trans and be loved, I guess. And that's been like a really hard thing to deal with, and it's something like I'm a lot better at. Like I learned in the last 6 months that like I want someone who actually chooses me, and that I put up with a lot of like, I would almost argue like toxic behavior to myself, because like I feel like I guess I'm not worthy of being loved due to being trans. So it's this weird like subconscious thing, and so it is my Achilles heel. And so like I'd already dealt with so much over the last like several years, and like I ended up just being tired of hurting. Like I just wanted something good to happen, and I ended up like putting myself out there, and like it hurt and opened up a bunch of different wounds, and I got to the point where I was just like super sick of just hurting, like just kind of really tired of life. And if I'm being honest, like I got really, really depressed, and was probably one of the closest I've ever been to suicide. And I've had some close calls. Like, remember the first time I was like in 8th and 9th grade, and this time like I did all the normal things that I do to like keep myself from going through with it, and everything was like, and just kind of a lot of it just failed, I guess. Like I didn't go through with it. I ended up just like, to be honest, like I am a gun person and I have a bunch of guns, but I've always like made the deal to not do it with guns, because that's just so easy. And I wanted to do it a different way to make sure that I wanted to do it if I ever did it. And that was a deal that I made like when I was in 8th and 9th grade, whenever I realized I was suicidal for the first time. And that saved my life on multiple occasions. Well, this time, like I walked into my apartment and like broke down crying this one day, and just because I knew the guns were there, and that's what I wanted to do. And like I remember like sobbing on the couch for forever, and it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that was going on too, and I ended up getting out of my apartment and like waiting in my car for a long time, hoping that one of my friends I thought he was going to get off shift, and I was going to have him come over and like just get all of them out of my apartment. Well, I sat in my car for a really long time, cried a lot, like I was having a really hard time. And I'm just getting so tired that I came back in and fell asleep. And then the next day I was like kind of still in that mindset. And I'll be honest, like I wrote like the first couple sentences of like a suicide note, and then I started doing something else. Like I started like editing pictures or something. I was like, this is not me. Like I know this is only temporary. So I got something to get my mind off of it. And since that night, it hasn't been a thing. And I've been much better since then. It was rough, and it's hard for me to talk about it now, but I mean, it's something that I've dealt with. It's something that other people deal with, and it's just remembering that things will get better, and that it's temporary, and like life is so worth living, and that's not you when you're in one of those states. As hard as it is to see anything else. So yeah, that happened, and then like with my friend that I had feelings for, like we still hung out a ton, and I didn't tell her about that for a very, very long time, because I don't blame her by any means, and like it's just so much of my life was just going. I'm just tired of hurting, I guess. Like whenever I was at that point, like there's so many different, like losing so many different family members, dealing with my family, and just everything. Like I was just tired of everything. So, I'm good now. I'm like amazing now. But yeah, so that happened. Me and my friend were hanging out again a lot, and I do feel bad that like it kind of changed our dynamic a little bit, I guess. Like she's not as open as she used to be with me, and I like, not, I mean, it wasn't, had nothing to do with like me having feelings for her, but I really, really like despise her ex-boyfriend, and I like have let her know that, and you know, she, like, this was way before I ever had feelings, and like I just can't stand the guy. He's one of the biggest narcissists I've ever come across. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. So anyway, that all happened, and like realized I was like not focusing on being trans and stuff, or not really like transitioning, I guess. I like continued with my hormones and everything, so that was good. So then the other thing that's been going on was one of my best friends has been struggling with alcohol use disorder for a long time now. And this person has been to rehab twice, and I'm hoping that like the second time, which was like on the a little bit more recent, I'm hoping it really sticks. But like this person's in like stage 3, and it's been one of the hardest things in the world to watch. Like it's like watching someone slowly commit suicide. And you see how they're like self-sabotaging, and they're not going to work and doing all these different things. And like, you know, it's so hard. It's just like in like all the different choices that they make, like you kind of see that it's like, in a way, they're just kind of like either numbing the pain through alcohol or numbing it through other means. And you see the pattern of behavior, and then like I go to counseling, and like my counselors help me understand a lot of it and whatnot. And so, you know, it's just been really, really hard to go through. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, whether like I wouldn't wish it someone else being addicted, and I wouldn't wish, you know, someone having a family member that is, because they end up being like, alcohol is like their number one thing, and so they can get really mean. And I've been yelled at on multiple occasions. I don't think blows have ever, I don't think anything's ever come to blows, but like, it's just really hard watching somebody go through this. And it's not like they're going out and partying. It's, you know, they're just drinking at home, and like you're just passed out. And the hard thing is like we're in stage 3, like this person's had DTS, and it's really hard to watch. It's like knowing that they have like a 1 in 20 chance every time they detox. Like their body is, you know, so dependent on it now that they can't stop. Like they literally will die if they stop cold turkey. And it's so hard. It's also like this person's they don't want to go to like a detox facility whenever they end up drinking, and it's just so hard, like those couple of days when you know they're detoxing and you're just like scared to death, and it's just it's really hard. And like I know this person, like I know they've gone through, I can't imagine what they're going through. Like it's also really hard because it's like, you know, it's not them, so you deal with so much stuff. Like you just accept it, put up with it. Like you know at the end of the day it's not them, but it doesn't mean like what they're saying or like whatnot doesn't hurt. And so it's hard watching, you know, one of my best friends go through this. But I don't know, I'm hopeful. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, that's for sure. So yeah, those were the, you know, 2 people that are kind of like essentially took over my life the last like 6-7 months. But like, of course, I let that happen. I've learned a lot about myself over the last, you know, few months, and I learned that, one, like, of course, feelings are gonna fade. Like, I remember me and the girl that I had feelings for, like, we got in a big argument over like something really stupid. It was like over a podcast, and like I listened to it the night before, and she had listened to it like a month or 2 beforehand, and I was like, had said something about the podcast that was in it, and like she was like so adamant that it wasn't the case, and we got in this big argument, and I was like, I listened to it last night, like I promise you this is the case. And it just, she couldn't accept that she was right, I mean that she was wrong. And I finally dropped it because I was like, you know, if being right is that big of a deal, then like it's not worth me sitting here arguing that much. Like it's I'm okay being wrong. And it's also like she's really smart, and I'd say she's probably smarter than me. And like I noticed just different things where like I would, you know, basically I would know things, and like she would have these, like, you know, she would talk about something, and you know I would let it be like I didn't know, because like she liked telling me about the stuff, and you know I just acted like I didn't know, or you know I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I know that, on like everything that she told me. And so you know, so it was just kind of like, I don't know, just something that I did. But yeah, that was like a big red flag. There was a bunch of other ones like that, and some of them like I ignored for a bit, and like slowly, you know, they kind of like established, and I was like, you know, like this is not gonna work out. Like I'm sorry, there's, you know, I mean, and not that she ever wanted it to or anything like that. We were never ever dating, and you know I just had feelings for her, and they just went away because eventually the red flags for me at least piled up to where I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, now we're still friends. But I've learned a lot, back to like, you know, what I've gotten through all this stuff is I learned so much about myself in the last 6 months. Like I started going to Al-Anon, which is for friends and family of alcoholics. And at first I thought I was going for that, you know, for my friend. And then I realized that I was going for myself. Like I was going to not go through, not have like one of those like catastrophe moments where like I'm convinced that they're gonna die if I don't go over there. And like, you know, there are times when I walked in and like I mean, stood in this, like, you know, whenever they're like relapse in the past, like I literally never knew. You know, I never knew if I was gonna be the one to walk in and, you know, then be dead. And that was like a really hard thing. I was like preparing myself every time to go over. And, you know, then like, you know, I'm friends with some of the people that they work with. Anyway, like I had to cut something out. I'm trying to be vague and not give any indication of who this person is. But anyway, they had introduced me to like some of their coworkers, and they knew I was really close with this person, and they had my number and stuff, and like I would know, like they would let me know when they wanted to come to work. And so it was like a relapse, so it was like, you know, these would last for days. And you know, going over and like checking on this person and making sure they're not dead, like it's not easy. And it's also like not easy whenever the person, like, you go in and you get like screamed at, and they're just like, they'll be really nice, like happy you're there, and like be talking about different things, and then like a split second, like it'll switch. And so I got to the point where I was just done doing that. Like I quit going over, and when going through Al-Anon, like I learned that I am codependent, and like it's a really incredible thing to learn that like I struggle with codependency. Like it's one of those things, like I guess it makes me like a nicer person, and like really care for people, but at the same time, like I'm really bad with boundaries. I'm really bad like putting myself first. Like I feel super guilty whenever I do. Even like not going over to like check on my friend, like it took a little while for me to get to the point where like I was okay, like if they died, like I was okay not going over there, because I realized that they're the ones that put themselves in that position, and I've done everything in my power to like know that, you know, that they, you know that I'm like here for them. And it's just, it's just not worth going through, I guess. And so like I'm still here for them, like always will be, but I'm not gonna deal with the alcohol. Like it's like kind of sort of my line, and it's like my therapist like has helped me through this so much, and like understanding that this is something that this person can either like be be sober for forever, or it can be an ongoing thing. Like it could be something that this person doesn't quit drinking for like decades. So I don't know, like it's hard. And another thing is like understanding when this person like would get mad at me, and like they would be mad that I had talked to like say their parents, for instance. Like their parents knew about it, and they were worried to death. They don't live in the area and wouldn't hear from this person for a very long time, and they'd be scared to death. And I would kind of I'd give them updates on occasion. Like I'd just be like, hey, like this person's okay, and like like I think they're getting better and things like that. And my friend, like that was one of the things that they hated, and I think a lot of it was like shame and guilt and stuff, because like their parents knew, and in reality like it's a disease, and it's it's nothing to do with them. Like they're responsible for for their actions to some degree, but it's the addiction talking so much. And it's, we all really care for the person and want them to get better, but anyway, so it's hard to like understand boundaries, hard to understand like when to go over, when not to go over, even when they said they didn't want someone over, but then if you go over, like they're really nice and happy to see you. Like it's hard. And then of course like they don't remember any conversation you had when you're there, or don't even remember you going over. So yeah, that's all been hard. But like the codependency thing has been amazing, because like I look at my family, I look at my grandfather was an alcoholic, and he was in Korea, and that's how he coped, was alcohol. And whenever I was born, like he had quit alcohol like years before. But that's like understanding my mom's dynamic, understanding the rest of my family, and being able to see that, and then also understanding that I myself is also struggling with codependency, being able to put those boundaries up and do something for myself, like has been the best thing ever. And I guess this was something I wanted to talk about in the second video, but I might be able to get it all in the first video. So that's been a really big thing. Also, like I was diagnosed with ADHD within the last year, and understanding that's been big. Okay, so once again, I hit the 30-second mark. Not 30-second, 30-minute mark. Long story short, cameras like point and shoot, or this isn't a point and shoot, this is a mirrorless DSLR. But mirrorless cameras that can also record, like the limit is 30 minutes. It's like 29 minutes and 59 seconds, because if it's over 30 minutes, then like certain countries put a higher tax on it or something. So sorry again, I thought I had stopped the video in time, but I guess not. Anyway, I'm not really sure where the last one led off, so I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit. So again, it's really hard watching a friend go through an addiction, and be really nice and then like switch really quickly, and then like one of their boundaries is like not to come over, but like I'm seriously wondering if they're dead, because I haven't heard from them and nobody else has heard from them in a long time. And so understanding like where that line is, it's still kind of blurry. It's like this person is potentially gonna die, but at the same time like they don't feel like they have control over their life, and like a boundary is like a way that they did it, and like they don't want me to come over, but at the same time like they're happy when I get there. It's just, and also they don't remember it. So it's it's so hard, and it's also kind of conflicting, but then it's like, you know, do you respect the person's boundaries, or do you like go over and like make sure they're not dead? And it's one of those things that's like, I kind of got to the point where I realized that going over isn't necessarily going to actually do anything. And the chances of me being there if they ended up drinking too much are slim to none. So if they're going to basically, like, I got to the point where, like, if they're, you know, they're responsible for their own actions and for drinking and whatnot, and if they're going to die, then, like, that's, I can't do anything about that, essentially. Like, they know I'm always here for them. They know that if they need anything to let me know. And I even have, like, non-alcoholic beer in my fridge. Like, I keep it in there just in case. But, you know, it's just the point where that becomes not your responsibility. Like, you can't save the person, like, only that they can pull themselves out. And so that's been a really hard thing for me to understand. And then, you know, like, understanding how, like, I need my own boundaries, and I don't need to go into a catastrophe mode, and, like, the person's probably going to be okay. Like, that's been amazing. Like, Al-Anon has been one of the best things I've ever gone to. I still go to it. It's taught me so much to, like, put myself first and not always, like, give so much to other people. Especially when it's, like, a situation that's, like, it's so hard. But yeah, like, you know, it's been a roller coaster. So as far as, like, the transition goes, like, I'm absolutely amazing. This is, like, you know, hormones are working, as you can tell. I'm trying to, like, focus on myself and focus on what makes me happy, regardless of what anybody says. And, you know, some things that, like, I have a hard time with, or my voice, or, like, different things like that I haven't put, like, as much effort in as I wish. And in reality, like, I just have to do it. Like, just have to do it. Like, there's nothing, no other way around it. And so, like, I'm okay. Like, I am really happy where I'm at, and I'm honestly probably the best I've ever been. And I mean, I really can't wait to see what the year holds. Like, I am so excited. And I feel absolutely amazing. That's kind of a long one. I was going to do 2 parts, but, you know, as far as the trans stuff goes, like, I mean, I'm doing really well. But thank you very much for watching, and, you know, look forward to making more of these. Hopefully it won't be quite as long in between them. But thank you guys. Bye.